So after watching the first two trailers for the Bohemian Rhapsody movie, I couldn't help but wonder what songs might make it into the film. And judging by the comments on the videos, a lot of you were wondering the same thing as well. So I thought the best way to do this would be to go through each album and take a look at which songs we think are most likely to make it into the film. One thing that we do know from the trailer is that there will be a Smile scene in here, obviously the pre-Queen group that Brian and Roger were a part of with Tim Staffel, so we can probably expect a Smile song in the film early on. Interestingly enough, Brian May also posted not too long ago on his Instagram that he was in the studio working with Tim Staffel again. So could this be something new, or could this be something to do with Bohemian Rhapsody? We know they've had to re-record some of Freddie's vocals with Mark Martel, so maybe they've had to re-record some of the Smile tracks, or one of the Smile tracks that they might use in the film. So looking at the first album, and the only songs that I can see making it into the film are probably Keep Yourself Alive and Liar, and even both of them are not guaranteed. In the trailers we've seen what looks like the band playing their first gig together, and interestingly enough in this scene, Freddie's holding a tambourine, which for Queen fans obviously know that he played the tambourine quite a bit during live performances of Keep Yourself Alive, so I think Keep Yourself Alive could be being played in this scene. As I say, I think Liar's a chance, but even that's not guaranteed, and as an outsider, maybe Doing Alright could be in there. It was kind of a song that Smile were working on as well as Queen, so maybe it could be used as some kind of a bridge between the two bands or something, but that's probably not likely either. Queen 2 is seen as an underappreciated and relatively unknown album outside of Queen diehard fans, and unfortunately I don't think the film's going to do much in terms of giving the other songs on this album much recognition. The only song I think we'll see in the film out of this album will be Seven Seas of Rye. Obviously because that was kind of Queen's first sign of any kind of success anywhere in the charts, so I think it's probably too important not to include in the film. Now the question is, will we see them performing it on Top of the Pops, which was no doubt a contributing factor in the single's success at the time? My guess is probably not. I think they'll save Top of the Pops for something just a little later on. I think we will hear Seven Seas of Rye somewhere in the film. Moving on to Sheer Heart Attack, and we obviously know from the first trailer that Killer Queen will be a part of the film. We can obviously see from this shot in that first trailer that maybe we might be getting a recreation of the music video for Killer Queen, which was obviously on Top of the Pops. Now I'm Here as a possibility, maybe, as it was a huge part of Queen's live set throughout their career. Probably unlikely to feature in there, but maybe we might get a shot of it in the live show. Stone Cold Crazy might be a chance to feature in because I think it might have a little bit more popularity in the States due to the Metallica cover, but again, that's a long shot. What I want to throw in there as a bit of a roughie is In the Lap of the Gods Revisited, because that was obviously a huge part of the Queen live set in the early days, and was kind of like the precursor to We Are the Champions in a sense that it was the big finishing number at the end of the live show, so maybe we might get a little taste of that at the end of one of their earlier shows in the movie, but that's a long shot. I think A Night at the Opera is probably going to feature pretty heavily in the film. We know from the trailers that the recording process of Bohemian Rhapsody is definitely going to be a focus of the film. So I guess there's a possibility then of maybe hearing other songs that they were working on in the studio at the time. One of the funny stories that we might get to see thrown in there is the rumoured story about Roger locking himself in a cupboard until the rest of the band agreed to have his song I'm in Love with My Car as the B-side to Bohemian Rhapsody, which was obviously how it turned out in the end. So maybe that could be a story that could be thrown in there and that song could appear in the film as a result. I think You're My Best Friend should definitely be in the film. I'm actually kind of surprised that we haven't seen it in any trailers or marketing material for the film so far. It's definitely one of the band's hit songs that most people seem to recognise, and I definitely find that you hear it quite a bit in American TV shows and movies, so it may have a bit more of a popularity in America than you would initially think. Love of My Life is a song that I think will definitely be in there as well. We know that the Freddie and Mary relationship is one of the key plot points in the film, so I think this song, which is essentially seen as their song or Freddie's song for Mary or all this kind of stuff, that gives it a very good chance that this song will be in the film. We know from a previous image release that 39 will be in there. It might be in the Sheer Heart Attack era, but it will be in the film, we think. The other song that I think has a good chance of being in there from Night at the Opera is Death on Two Legs. Obviously the story that goes behind that with their problems with their management and the Sheffield brothers and all this kind of stuff, surely that will be covered in the film, so I think definitely expect Death on Two Legs, the song and the story behind it, to feature in the film. I don't see a whole ton of tracks from A Day at the Races making it into the film. I think maybe Tie 'Em At The Down due to it being kind of a fan favorite and being a great live track from their career. Somebody to Love, I think, will definitely be in there. It's a song that is quite popular around the world and is one of their bigger hits, so it should definitely be in there. The other one I want to throw in there as maybe a bit of an outsider is Teo Toriate, or however you say it. We have seen an image in the past of what looks like it could be a Queen concert in Japan. Obviously, they were very popular early on in Japan, and they always had a special relationship with their Japanese fans. As a result, that song came out of it. I think that song could maybe sneak its way in as they talk about that kind of special connection between them and their Japanese fans. Looking at News of the World, I think We Will Rock You and We Are the Champions have a decent chance of being in there, just judging from the fact that they're in both trailers, or at least We Will Rock You is. You could say maybe Sheer Heart Attack could make an appearance due to the whole punk rock thing that was going on at the time, and there's obviously that great story of Freddie having the run-in with Sid Vicious from the Sex Pistols while they were both in the same recording studio together, so that could be interesting to see that story in the film. I think the chances of stories like that, I'm in Love with My Car story and the Sid Vicious story, I think their chances of being in the film are improved due to the fact that we have seen shots from the Bohemian Rhapsody recording sessions, we have seen shots from the We Will Rock You recording sessions. That probably improves the chances of these kind of funny side stories being in the film, but you never know. We have heard that the jazz era and the kind of late 70s era of Queen won't feature too heavily in the film, but we do know that Fat Bottom Girls is apparently in the film, but in the Queen 2 era, which is another one of these crazy time shifts they've done. Bicycle Races may be a chance because it is a greatest hit song, so maybe it could be in there, but probably unlikely. And Don't Stop Me Now is a song that I think has gained a bit more popularity over the years, so that might make an appearance. But again, when they're not covering this whole era and period of Queen's history too much, you gotta wonder how many of the songs will actually fit in. The Game is obviously an album that made a big contribution to the Greatest Hits album, but I only think we'll see 2 songs from this album make it into the film. From the trailers, we already know that Another One Bites the Dust is going to be in there. That was a big hit around the globe and particularly in the US, so that will definitely be in there. I also think Crazy Little Thing Called Love will be in there. It should be in there just because it's a hit alone, but also because it's part of the Live Aid set list. I do wonder though, will Crazy Little Thing be cut from the film and cut from the Live Aid set list in the film just purely for time constraints? In the Live Aid footage we've obviously seen Freddie sitting at the piano playing, we've seen him up running around with his microphone, we've never seen him playing a guitar in the trailer just yet. So until we see a shot of Rami playing guitar, I think we have to be doubtful about Crazy Little Thing. Could it be thrown by the wayside? Also, don't expect anything from the Flash Gordon album. I don't think they'll touch on any of the songs in that album. Hot Space is a really interesting album in regards to what they will include in the film from this album. Obviously, I'd expect Under Pressure to be in there because it's, again, one of their bigger hits. It would be very interesting to see that process of writing the song with Queen and David Bowie together, but whether we'll see that, we don't know. It would be interesting though. Now, the Hot Space era is where all the drama seems to happen within the film, and they're going to need to have a song that represents why that album was seen as either underperformed or why it wasn't as well received as previous Queen albums. You can't say in the film that this album was a change in sound or that it was an album that wasn't as well received because of the change in sound and then have the only song that represents that album being Under Pressure, because people who don't know Queen inside and out will look at that and say, well, Under Pressure is a great song, so if that's a representation of what was on this album, why did it perform so badly? My guess is Staying Power, Backchat and Body Language are 3 songs that one of those could be in the film. I think Staying Power and Backchat both kind of represent the change in sound from the previous albums to this album, while also still being songs that are kind of catchy and that people might actually like, whereas Body Language really represents what was really bad about that album and the worst part of that album in a lot of people's eyes. But the big question is, will Brian and Roger actually want that song to be included in the film? I don't think they like that song all too much, and it's regarded as one of, if not Queen's worst song. Will they actually want that being in this thing, which is also a promotion about their music as much as anything else? Amazingly, it might actually be Hot Space that has the best chance of getting one of its deeper cut songs in the film. Looking at the works, and I would say that Radio Gaga has to be in the film. It was a huge moment in the Live Aid set list, and as I watched that second trailer, I did wonder whether the scene at the very end of the trailer of the crowd clapping together, maybe that could actually be Radio Gaga in the film and they've just dubbed We Will Rock You over the top of it. I Want to Break Free is one of their bigger hits around most places in the world, so it might be included. Its video also didn't go down too well, I think, in the States. The whole dressing up in drag thing didn't go down too well over there, so maybe they'll include that as one of these extra stories on the side. Hammer to Fall is a song that I think again should be in there as part of the Live Aid set list. It is another one of those songs where I wonder, could it be cut just for time constraints? It represents a huge moment in their Live Aid set where they'd won over the crowd with their first few songs, and then they really kicked it up a notch and everyone got behind them with that song. Especially the moment where Freddie dances with the cameraman, you'd think that'd make it in as well. Is This the World We Created was part of their Live Aid set list, even though it was a separate part later on in the show. I don't expect this to be in there just because of the time constraints and because it was a separate part of that Live Aid set list. So it is a cool song, it would be cool to see it get some recognition, but I don't expect it to be in the film. Here's another interesting one, much like Hot Space. What will be included from the Mr. Bad Guy album? We've already seen images that confirm that it will be part of the film's storyline. They're going to have to show something again that is a representation of the different sound between this album and your typical Queen album. Will they go for a song like I Was Born to Love You? I don't think they will, because even though that's a great song, Queen obviously did their version on the Made in Heaven album, and I think they would like their version to be known as like the main version. I think a song that has a decent chance of being in the film as a representation of Mr. Bad Guy is Living on My Own. I think this is a song that Queen fans kind of know because it is obviously on Greatest Hits 3, or a version of it is, and it's a song that both represents the change in sound on Freddie's solo album and a song that could potentially tie into the story with Freddie kind of getting to a point where he is on his own, which we speculated about in the trailer. We know the film does end at Live Aid, so I don't expect anything from the Magic or the Miracle albums. I do think there is a possibility for maybe one scene towards the end of the film, a kind of a flash forward to Freddie's last days or his last year or so. In this case, we may end the film with The Show Must Go On and seeing Freddie kind of record that and deliver a great vocal performance even though he is so weak and frail. Or a song like These Are the Days of Our Lives, which is quite touching and sad and representative of that final album as Queen. I think that could be a chance to be in there. It might be a bit of a long shot. These songs probably might be around the end credit scene, something like that. So they're a chance, but an outside chance at that. So that's about it from me. Hopefully I didn't forget anything or leave any songs out. What songs do you think are going to be in the film? Let us know in the comments down below. While you're down there, make sure you like and subscribe and all that kind of good stuff. Make sure you check out our second channel, which is called Orcs After Dark. You'll see a link to that at the end of the video. But other than that, guys, I'll see you next time.